Hey everyone, welcome to Q&Andy. Again, thank you for all the questions in advance. And Mike, tell us where they can send questions for next week's episode or any week, really.
Yeah, you can email them into us at askandy@surfpodcast.com or go to surfpodcast.com, click on the link and submit your questions there, or hit us up on socials. We'll find them.
Just hit us up.
Hit us up.
What do we got?
First up, we got a question from Oscar asking about, since you retired in 2012, have you ever been in a tennis conversation discussing a specific topic when you realized you are not a player anymore because you haven't heard about it? Meaning, like, since 2012, what's kind of changed? What conversation have you potentially been in where you're like, you know what? I never experienced that. I don't know how to comment.
I'm sure I have. And also, I was not really around the game at all for 8 years. You know, I was, you know, I feel like I needed a break before I could love again. Yeah, I guess like timing with roofs closing, like they didn't have a wet bulb. They just threw us out there to like
Wet bulb.
to like melt into the court. Yeah. So, I mean, essentially the question is like, has stuff changed that you didn't experience? And the answer is for sure yes, right? Like I'm trying to think of specific events. I think the tenets of tennis are all kind of the same, but yeah, like did I ever play mixed doubles at a slam in like a shootout? No, you know. So you have to think about those things. And but the conversation is, would you have done it? I got asked that a lot at the mixed doubles last year at the U.S. Open. I go, I don't know, because it wasn't my groove to like. I was kind of like Coco. I'm like, I'm not disrupting preparation for this. But yeah, for sure. Like I have not experienced everything because I've been gone 14 years now. Lots changed, I'm sure.
Is there anything about surfaces? When I read this question, I was kind of thinking a lot about like surfaces. Is there anything about surfaces that have changed a lot that you just have to have played on it at scale?
Well, I get asked also, like, stuff changes and you're trying to compare, contrast, and see what the similarities. I was talking with Seb Korda in the Dallas locker room the other day, and we were talking about the balls and like how they fluff up and when did it switch. And you know, at Wimbledon in the 90s, the court was so fast and the balls were so light that servers just walked back and forth. It's not that way anymore, so something changed. And so you're trying to dissect like what's court, what's balls, when did it switch, when were the most extreme switches, what years. Yeah, so like I think it's always changing. And to Seb was interested in like what was it like before, and I'm like, what's it like now? And so then you try to kind of find the middle ground of whatever it is.
Next up is from our friend Rupert, and this just has a little bit of context that from 1990 to 2007, Masters 1000s had best-of-5 set finals. His question is, should we bring that back for Masters 1000s and the NITA ATP finals, or maybe even at all the matches during the Davis Cup?
Not all the Masters had best-of-5 sets. Just some did, but
Some did.
I remember Rome, Coria, Nadal. Here's where that goes sideways, right? We talk about wear and tear on our players. We talk about also, I don't like starting a tournament in one format and then finishing it in another format. Like all of these conversations, and they're even having the conversation about the winner. Well, maybe from quarters on, it should be 3 out of 5. I'm like, that's a completely different tournament.
That's what Craig Tiley just said about women's, right?
It's the whole women's playing best of 5 thing, just so like, and you can't say anything without someone being pissed at you. Like it's, from what I've heard, Coco doesn't want to. Sabalenka says she doesn't want to. What are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing? It's easier to package tennis when it's 2 out of 3. It's more predictable. It's not as if you're going from an hour and a half potential finish to 6 hours. Like it's not easy for TV scheduling. And so to add more stress tests to that, more outliers to the TV schedule. And oh, by the way, it's not something the players are pushing for. What are we trying to solve?
Yeah, like Davis Cup already has a participation problem. If all of a sudden they're moving everything to 5 sets, you're like, geez.
I'll put this, you're less likely to want, like, no. If you start a tournament, best of 3, it should finish best of 3. Davis Cup, do we need to fly across Earth to random locations to play 5 sets and then go somewhere else and switch? No. Like, I think we need to make things less physically taxing. And also what I do, I think it makes the slams on the men's side with the 3 out of 5, it makes them this extra special like litmus test, right? I think it not a single person playing those Masters 1000s would get to the finals and be like, oh, you know what I'm pumped about? 5 sets today.
Yeah, when it's just random.
Yeah, I think we're in a good spot.
I mean, they got rid of it for a reason, right?
They did, and I don't know that anyone's going. There's not a single person that's playing the finals of Rome going, gosh, if we only had the potential for 6 hours today, that'd be great. Going into Roland Garros in 7 days. No.
Next up, we got a question from Racket Lifestyle. Being in tennis media, do you think the sport does enough to engage younger audiences that consume media in a completely different way than the generation above them? I wanted this question in here because after watching the Super Bowl this week, the NFL has figured it out, right, of how to engage a 5-year-old up all the way through a 65-year-old in the same programming. So that's why I wanted to insert this question. What's your overall thought?
I'm pretty pumped.
Yeah?
You ready for this?
Yeah.
Did we just get called media?
We did! We did!
Team.
Write that down. Submit this for credentials.
Submit it to the slams right now. Look, get us
Good job.
some credentials because someone thought we were media.
Thanks, Racket Lifestyle.
Racket Lifestyle. What up? I don't know. I think it's trending that way. I think I don't want to say we're ahead of the curve. I think, frankly, with like all this shit now, we started a podcast 2 years ago and there weren't really many, or there were few, and now it feels like every 10 seconds someone is now starting one. But that's great. I think people can, one of the things when we started this show, I remember when we were chatting, it's like we have to meet people where they consume their information, right? If they're like, we can only talk about tennis on a network. We're missing a huge swath of fans who want it when they want it on their phone, when they're driving, when they're like, we can't just hope that they're sitting in front of a TV at all times. Like, that's not the way that any media is going. But you have a better feel for this. I mean, you have the background in actually how to deliver this. You would have a better opinion than I would.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately exactly what you just said, right? Like, meet people where they are. I think that's been our strategy from day one. Was if you want to watch us on YouTube, you find us on YouTube. But if you want us on Spotify, we're there too. Like,
and I'm an
we're
expert
on all
at TikTok,
those socials.
So.
Yeah, super big expert at TikTok. I'm not even an expert at TikTok, but I do think the age gap for interest in tennis is very large, right? I think there's 16-year-olds that want to watch and listen to what you have to say about strategy and respecting what you've been through, and I think there are fans that watched you growing up that want to come in and listen, but at the end of the day, they all still want to watch tennis. Yeah, I think it's about meeting them where they are. Yeah,
that's it. And it's like some people want to watch clips, some people want to watch tennis. So you have to just make that available. And I think if we do anything well, because it's probably not the content of our show very often, but like I think we kind of
this week's show.
A buffet of options of how to consume, I think, is the best way to get to all types of audiences. But yeah, if you 5 years ago versus now, is it easier or can you find the spots in tennis for a 10-year-old to consume? Absolutely. I remember it's hard for when you're 7 years old and you're a fan of the game to sit down and watch 7 hours of a match or 4 hours or 2 hours. And, I don't think we should have that expectation for young fans.
Well, speaking of young fans, Dunstan Nell sent in, Andy speaks a lot about how he would go down to the track every morning when prepping for tournaments. Exactly what exercises would Andy do, which I could encourage my kids to do when prepping for his tournaments?
It wasn't the same thing every day. Mondays were like 10, 12, 40, 60, so short bursts. We did a lot of hurdle work, so for like hip mobility, like
you would do the lower hurdles.
No, it would be like you would do 1 over, 1 under, 1 over, 1 under. So it's basically different types of movements. The worst days were like repeat 300s. Those were the worst. You'd want to like vomit. A lot of natural, like tennis, you don't really need like, I don't know, a med ball, functional rotation stuff where it's like you're going against that. Bands are great. Do not get, I don't know how old she said her kids are, but do not put a 7-year-old in a weight room, please. Don't do it. Bands are great. Resistance training is great. Remember, anything you put on in tennis, you have to carry around for an entire match, right? So it's like that wiry, mobile muscle is I think where you look. I mean, look at Novak, right? Like that's kind of what you want. But it was different all the time. And so we'd have a 5-day Monday through Friday where we'd get sent at the beginning of the week if it was off season. So not like in the middle of a tournament. Parents, Don't go to the track the day before you have to play. Like that's not the one. But yeah, a lot of mobility, a lot of core work, a lot of hurdles, a lot of sprints, a lot of short. I want to vomit thinking about it.
It's when I was covering UFC stuff and covering MMA, what I always thought was interesting, they would train at the time that they knew they were going to fight because they would come out late. When you're prepping for a tournament, would you go out and train knowing you were going to be in a different time zone?
No.
Soon?
No.
Like, would you ramp your body up if you had the lead-in time?
I would. I mean, training in December when you know you're going to fly across Earth and be 16 hours ahead or behind or whatever, it makes no. But I like to your point. I think like at the U.S. Open, I would always try to get a hit in at night the week before because I played most of the night sessions for a while. So yeah, I think you would acclimatize once you got on site, but I wouldn't do track workouts at night like that. I didn't need to do that, especially because the time zones aren't the same either.
We have a last question from Phil, and I thought this was appropriate. I liked it, especially shout out to Lindsey Vonn skiing without an ACL. Tragedies here. Fall and get hurt, but speedy recovery to her. But what are your memories of your 2002 U.S. Open quarterfinal with Pete Sampras? There was talk at the time that you perhaps had a foot injury which hurt your movement. Any truth to that?
Everyone always has something. I'll tell you what happened that match. You ready? There's no. I had beaten Pete twice, and so it was the year before he was like 3 in the world, and then I beat him that year in a final in a tournament in Houston. And I was pretty convinced that obviously I understand the greatness of Pete Sampras. I grew up watching it. Like I saw it. And I was like, as far as like great players go, I was like, it doesn't feel like the worst matchup for me because my serve can kick up out of his zone. There were different things. I had played 4 sets and won 4 sets against him. I was like, oh, okay, I have general understanding. I'll tell you what I didn't know. I didn't know what prime Pete looked like. And then all of a sudden, about 45 minutes into that match, I was done, cooked. He was all over me, like just smothered me. And I'm like, oh, this is like major Pete Sampras. He came in on like a first serve and he would come in, he was so quick and he'd knock off a volley. And then he kind of looked at me like this is what you're going to deal with. And he gave me that little brow. He used to just flick it. And he just gave me a little flick. And I just froze. My foot had nothing to do with that loss. It was all Pete Sampras.
That's it. That's all we got for Q&Andy this week.
Great job, Mike. We'll see you next week.